Hello and welcome to Us Living. This is Yannick Collins and I'm here with Stefan Matthews, who is the founder and chairman of NCHain. So Stefan, thank you so much for hosting us here at Manila House. I think this is the fourth time you're hosting us here.
It's my pleasure. It is a venue that we use a lot, and it's a venue that I've used a lot. I'm a foundation member here.
There has been a lot of crazy developments coming from NCHain in the last 4 months, starting with the signed MOU between NCHain and Bataan. Tell us about the opportunity for the provincial government of Bataan and also the citizens.
Enormous. I'll just use that word, enormous. What we're doing originally, when we started talking to the provincial government, was obviously October last year. And the discussion was around the establishment, or their goal to establish a blockchain hub in Bataan, which would enable the Philippines to provide training, cross-skilling, upskilling, entry into the blockchain world for developers and tech people, to promote the development of blockchain solutions.
Yes.
Not just for the Philippines, but for the world. And that kind of coincided with the president last year issuing a mandate that during his term he wanted government processes and government transactions and government documents blockchain enabled, those processes blockchain enabled for efficiencies and cost savings and everything else that goes with it. So that's where the discussion started with Bataan, and we signed that agreement, and that kicked off a whole range of things. And those whole range of things, we had meetings earlier this week with Governor Garcia, and we now have a roadmap, which hopefully will see the delivery of prototypes in the early part of next year. We know exactly what his priorities are in terms of blockchain enablement. We know exactly what his priorities are for the delivery of government services through the blockchain-based apps. So that's the good part. The even better part is that when I met with him on Tuesday, I gave him an update and our commitment.
And this is BBM.
Well, this is about establishing a blockchain incubator in Bataan. So we're a shareholder in Block Dojo in London, and they've had 4 cohorts so far. They've pushed about 40 companies, startups, through their incubator. So we know the process really well, and it's been very successful, and we've been looking at sites internationally where we could establish another instance of that incubator, and we've decided that we're going to do it in Bataan. So that means for Bataan that we'll be establishing a physical presence there for the dojo. We'll be, over the next few months, setting in process solicitation of submissions from entrepreneurs here in the Philippines. The goal, of course, is to get some really good ideas coming through there. Fingers crossed, we might hatch a unicorn, we might not. But when we're looking at the reviewing the submissions, I'm going to be really keen to see things around IoT, Internet of Things, particularly if we can get solutions in the agricultural area, the weather, and disaster management. In addition to that, supply chain solutions. If we can get some stuff coming through, really great ideas and concepts related to agriculture, those things will work really well for this country. But then, of course, there's going to be a whole host of other topic areas that we can foster that would be, for international and other uses. And that ties in with a meeting I had this morning, which was at an Ateneo. And we signed a contract this morning.
Oh, tell me about this partnership with Ateneo.
Yeah, well, the partnership is between April and June. Our team, because we run a lot of training and academy courses for developers and management and so forth around blockchain, and have done for about 5 years. So our team is coming here to work with the faculty, and some of the faculty members are here tonight, and we're going to be training them between April and June on the delivery of courses.
Wow.
And in addition to that, while we're doing that, we're going to be working with them to design a curriculum for a blockchain leadership course that they're going to offer in the second semester of this year. So that's really exciting, but it gets better because what I've done with the university is agreed that we're going to sponsor or give a grant to or fund projects with 3 PhD students to help them develop further their research into blockchain. And we're going to provide internships for students at the university to work in our companies and also in the dojo and in the dojo companies. And the university will have free access for students to develop concepts using all of our intellectual property. Doesn't mean they can run off and use it in the commercial world, but it means that they have access to all of our IP to further the development and research into blockchain here.
This is crazy. You are creating the leaders of the future.
I hope so. I hope so.
Education now can be accessed more easily and of course by more people from more places, but if you could make more learned and transferable skills free, what would you change first and why?
I think the transference of skills is already free. I mean, it should be. Education, I'm an enormous advocate for education, and that's why, we're not entering into a commercial relationship with the university. What we're doing with the university is free, and we're helping to foster that education and transference of skills. And hopefully with the PhD programs and the internships, what they learn at university and the intellectual property they have access to, gets transferred into new startups. And that's what it's all about. That was the commitment that I made to Governor Garcia and Congressman Garcia back in October last year. And it's the commitment that I've made in meetings that I've had this week with Secretary Ivan at the DICT. We're training their people as well. While our guys are here in April, May, June, we're also going to be running internal seminars for DICT. And it fits in with the entire program that I've been advocating for months here in the Philippines.
Tell us about the roadmap. When is the rollout of the digital platform expected? And what has been the feedback? I know that you've met Bong Bong Marcos a few days ago.
You dropped it, I didn't. Yes, that's true. I spent roughly 2.5 hours with the president yesterday, which was a unique experience, as you can imagine, and a very rewarding experience. I mean, when you go to those meetings, you never know what to expect. But what I found was an incredibly insightful fellow. I mean, his knowledge in terms of blockchain in this space was surprising. And I have heard that, he's an avid reader, and that came through very distinctly. His knowledge is broad and deep. So it was an engaging couple of hours. We talked about what we were doing in Bataan. We talked about whether the blockchain enablement in Bataan was being able to be replicated in other provinces and how scalable it was. We talked about how the scale and replication might look on a national level. I actually brought up the topic and talked to him about data sovereignty. I've held the view for a long time now that if governments enabling their processes on a blockchain, they need to have some way of protecting their data. It's private, it's sovereign data of the country, and therefore, you can't have that floating around globally on the blockchain for everybody else to look at. So we've got some techniques and capabilities that we developed years ago that enable that to happen in terms of data center infrastructure in this country, where if we get to that size and scale, we can have Philippine transactions being processed here, and those transactions are secure, governed by the ICT maybe, and protected. and nobody else gets to see them.
In your opinion, how can blockchain technology improve the access to financial services, especially for the underserved or excluded from traditional finance?
Financial inclusion, well, enormously, obviously. This country...
Are you also working, taking initiatives to improve that situation in the Philippines?
I'd like to. It's not what we're discussing at the moment. Our discussions are focused on, blockchain enablement of government processes. But, I would be hopeful that at some stage down the track, we get into this area of financial inclusion. I think this country has an enormous amount to
Unbanked.
gain. Yeah, not only for the unbanked. You think about the OFW contingent, the amount of money that comes into this country from overseas through those workers. If you could find a way of getting that money in here faster and cheaper, you imagine, let's for example say 15% of everything remitted overseas never makes its way to the family home. If you could reduce that to 1%, you're putting 14% of those remittances back into the Philippine economy. And the economic benefit of that would be enormous. And that's what this technology promises, and that's what this technology should eventually one day bring to this country. And if we can grow applications through the dojo and through grassroots Filipino innovation to do that, all the better.
Amazing. Okay, now looking ahead, what are the some of the biggest challenges and opportunities facing the blockchain industry? How do you see NCHain continuing to lead the way in this space?
Look, NCHain has always been a leader in this space and will always be a leader in this space. We have the largest portfolio of intellectual property in blockchain. If any organisation anywhere in the world is thinking about Web3, and it's the buzzword, but I'm not so sure everybody fully understands what it means. But if we're talking about Web3, if you're not using NCHain intellectual property, then
you're missing out.
You're irrelevant in the Web3 space. And I'll say it again, you're irrelevant, because the treasure trove of IP that we have around Web3 is so broad, so deep, that it's impossible for anybody to deliver Web3 solutions of any caliber without it. So, NCHain leadership. We have one of the largest research groups in the world. We've been working full-time on blockchain.
And your headquarters where?
Well, as a corporation, our corporate headquarters is in Europe, in Switzerland, but our largest base for workers and where our largest research base is in London, and it always has been. So that's where the bulk of the research is done, and we continue to fund our research activities as we did back in 2015. That will never change. Research is the heart and lifeblood of everything we do. Difference is that now we're starting to take our technology and our intellectual property to the world. And I really do hope that what we're doing here actually showcases to the world what can be done with our IP.
And lastly, Stefan, imagine a world where Web3 and blockchain have been fully integrated in the Philippines. What would that future look like, and what goals would you set for the next generation to help bring that future to life?
It would be transformational. It would change so many things about life in the Philippines at all levels. And if I look to the future, and I've held this belief for a long time, there is a natural convergence between blockchain and AI. And I've held this belief for quite a number of years. About 4 years ago, because I was thinking this way, I went to Oxford University in the UK, took an AI course to make sure that my thinking was properly aligned with reality. And it was, I might add. So the common nexus between blockchain and AI is data. And if you think about all the applications we're engaged in discussions on here in the Philippines right now, they all involve data. breaking down data silos, putting data from paper into technology. When you start to marry that in the future with AI and predictive capabilities, that's the exciting part of the next 10 years.
Well, Stefan, it is such a pleasure, such an honor to have you here on our show. Thank you so much for hosting here at the Manila House, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much.